You're sitting across from a retired school teacher named Carol who has $180,000 saved over 34 years. She wants to know if she can retire in 2 years. You tell her yes. You mean it. You've run the numbers 3 times. The portfolio is solid. The allocation makes sense. The only problem is you're not legally allowed to be doing any of this. You never passed the Series 65. You never registered with the state. You've been calling yourself a financial advisor for 11 years without a single license to show for it. Carol doesn't know that. Neither do your other 63 clients. Together, they've handed you $47 million in life savings, college funds, retirement accounts, and inheritance money left by people who are now dead. You manage all of it from a 2-room office above a dry cleaner in Scottsdale. It started small. That part is always true. Your uncle asked you to look at his brokerage account in 2009. Markets had just collapsed. His advisor had him 80% in tech. You were 27 years old, no credentials, but you'd read everything. Graham, Buffett, Dalio. You rebalanced his account over 2 phone calls. By 2011, it was up 41%. He told his coworkers. His coworkers told their neighbors. Word spread the way it always does in retirement communities and church parking lots. Someone hands you a check. Then someone else does. You open a business account. You print business cards. The cards say financial consultant, not advisor, not registered investment advisor, consultant. You told yourself there was a difference. There wasn't. You knew that by month 3. You looked up the requirements. Series 65, state registration, fiduciary obligations filed in writing. It wasn't complicated. You planned to do it. You scheduled the exam twice and canceled both times because you were too busy managing accounts that weren't supposed to exist yet. Then a 3rd client came, then a 4th. Then you had 12 clients and $2.3 million under management. And the exam felt like something you'd get to eventually. Eventually is a word that means never when business is good. By year 3, you have 28 clients and $9 million. You're charging 1% annually on assets under management. That's $90,000 a year in fees. You hire an assistant named Patrice who handles scheduling and paperwork. You never tell Patrice the full picture. She knows you're good with money. She knows clients call you on weekends. She does not know about the Series 65. You don't tell her because telling her would make it real in a way you've been careful to avoid. The system works. That's what you tell yourself at night. The system works, and the clients are happy, and no one is getting hurt. The rationalizations come easier as the years pass. You tell yourself that the Series 65 is a formality, a bureaucratic hoop that doesn't reflect actual competence. You've outperformed advisors who have it. You've read more books than most registered representatives. You understand behavioral finance better than people who sell insurance products on the side. Your clients are better served by someone who believes in what he's doing than someone with credentials and conflicts of interest. These thoughts have a way of feeling true when you're alone in your office at night. By year 4, they feel like facts. By year 6, they feel like defenses you shouldn't need to make because they're so obviously correct. You begin to wonder if you're the one person in the industry actually doing things the right way, operating without the pressure of licensing bodies or regulatory scrutiny that might force you to prioritize legal compliance over client outcomes. Carol's account is up 22% over 2 years. A contractor named Dale hired you in 2012 with $340,000 in savings. Now he has $490,000. A widow named Ruth came in with $600,000 she didn't understand. You put her in dividend stocks and short-term bonds. Conservative, safe, exactly what she needed. She sends you a Christmas card every year with a photo of her grandkids. You keep the cards in your desk drawer. You look at them sometimes when you're questioning yourself. They remind you that something real is happening here. Real people, real results, real trust placed in your hands without reservation. The exam becomes a background noise you stop hearing. You hire a second employee in year 5. You move to a bigger office. You get your first client with over $1 million. His name is Frank. He's a former surgeon. He interviews you for 2 hours before signing anything. You answer every question correctly. He asks about your registration. You tell him you operate as an independent consultant under a managed account structure. That's technically true. It's also technically nothing. He nods and signs. Frank brings 2 colleagues. The colleagues bring their accountant. By year 6, you're managing $21 million. You're good at this. That's the part that doesn't fit the story people expect. You're not stealing. You're not churning accounts for commissions. You're not pushing products that pay you kickbacks. You believe in low-cost index funds. You rebalance quarterly. You call clients when the market drops before they have a chance to panic. You talk them down. You remind them of the plan. You remind them that their time horizon is long and fear is short. It works. Your client retention rate is 94% over 8 years. That's better than most registered advisors in the state. The business reaches $38 million by year 8. You start thinking about the exam again. You study for 3 weeks. You score well on the practice tests. Then a client's daughter asks you to manage her 401k rollover, and you spend the study time on her portfolio instead. The exam slips again. You add it to a to-do list you update every January and never complete. By year 10, you have $47 million under management, and the Series 65 feels like pointing out that a surgeon left medical school 2 credits short 30 years after saving 1,000 lives. You know, that's a rationalization. You make it anyway. There's a moment around year 9 when you almost confess. You're having lunch with Richard, the securities attorney you haven't called yet. The conversation drifts to business. He mentions a client who got caught running an unlicensed operation. The penalties were substantial. The reputational damage was permanent. He shakes his head and says he never understood why people didn't just take the test when they had time. You feel the words building in your throat. You're about to tell him. You open your mouth. Then Richard's phone rings. He takes the call. The moment passes. You pay the check and drive back to the office and decide that confessing would only hurt your clients. If you turned yourself in, their assets would be frozen during an investigation. They'd have to transfer to other advisors mid-year. It would disrupt their plans. You tell yourself, this is the selfless choice, protecting people who depend on you. It's the most important lie you've told yourself so far. Then the market turns. Not a crash, a correction. 12% down over 6 weeks in the fall of year 11. Your portfolios hold better than most. You're down 9% on average. That's actually good relative to benchmarks. But clients start calling. The calls are not angry at first. They're scared. You handle scared well. You've handled scared for 11 years. What you don't handle well is Frank's accountant, who calls in November and asks for your ADV form. A DV stands for Investment Advisor Registration Disclosure. Registered advisors file one with the SEC or the state. You don't have one. You've never had one. Frank's accountant wants to know why. You tell him you'll send it over. You hang up. You sit very still in your office for a long time. Patrice knocks on your door and says she's leaving for the day. You tell her to have a good night. You listen to her footsteps down the stairs. You listen to the door close. The dry cleaner below has been closed for an hour. It's just you and $47 million and a question you can't answer. You call a securities attorney that night. His name is Richard, and he charges $600 an hour. You explain the situation in 10 minutes. He doesn't say anything for a moment. Then he asks, how many clients? You say 63. He asks total assets. You say $47 million. He asks, how long? You say 11 years. He says you're looking at state securities fraud charges, unlawful practice as an investment advisor, and potentially federal wire fraud if you used email to communicate with clients about their accounts. You used email every week for 11 years. You have the records. So does the state. The Arizona Corporation Commission opens an investigation in January. 2 investigators show up at your office on a Tuesday morning. They're polite. They show credentials. They ask for client files. You've already talked to Richard. You hand them the files, all of them, every account statement, every email, every trade confirmation going back to 2009. You don't fight it. Fighting would make it worse. The investigation takes 4 months. During those 4 months, your clients find out one by one. Frank finds out first because his accountant filed the complaint. Frank is furious. He pulls his account immediately. His 2 colleagues follow. The accountant sends a letter threatening civil action. Carol finds out when a local news station runs a story. The headline calls you unlicensed. It mentions the $47 million. It does not mention that Carol's account is up 31% since she hired you. It does not mention that Dale is sitting on $490,000 instead of $340,000. Those numbers don't fit the story the headline needs. Carol calls you crying. She's not angry. She's confused. She says she trusted you. She says she doesn't understand why you didn't just take the test. You don't have a good answer. You tell her you're sorry. She asks if her money is safe. You tell her it's all there, every dollar. She can transfer it tomorrow. It'll take 3 business days. She says she'll think about it. She doesn't transfer it immediately. That surprises you. The state issues a cease and desist order in March. You're prohibited from acting as an investment advisor or soliciting new clients. Existing clients can transfer their accounts immediately. Most of them do. 41 of your 63 clients transfer within the first 2 weeks. That leaves 22. Some of them are people who've been with you since year 1. Ruth sends you a note. She says her account is up and she's not going anywhere until someone makes her. You call her and tell her she needs to transfer. You tell her it's the right thing. She says she'll decide what's right for herself. She's 74 years old and she's decided worse things. The months after the order are strange and quiet. Your office feels different without the constant phone calls and portfolio adjustments. You stop sleeping well. Your wife, who didn't know the full extent of what was happening until the news story, barely speaks to you except about logistics. She's already working with a family law attorney. You spend your days reading case law and staring at your old business plan from 2009. You recognize the handwriting. You recognize the optimism. You don't recognize the person who wrote it. Patrice texts you in May to say she's taking a job with a registered firm. She doesn't mention the betrayal, but you hear it in the professionalism of her message. You're happy for her. You're also entirely alone in the office above the dry cleaner. Your business card is worthless. Your reputation is toxic. Your license, the one you never had, is now permanently revoked, even though you never had it to revoke. The state reaches a settlement in June. You pay a $340,000 fine. You're barred from acting as an investment advisor for 5 years. No criminal charges are filed because the evidence doesn't support intent to defraud. Your clients' accounts were managed properly. The portfolios outperformed industry benchmarks in 7 of 11 years. The investigators note that in their report. It doesn't change the outcome. A fine is still a fine. A bar is still a bar. 41 clients still left. Frank's lawsuit settles for $80,000, even though his account made money. His attorney argues the risk of being managed by an unlicensed advisor constitutes damages regardless of returns. The judge agrees. You spend the summer in the same 2-room office above the dry cleaner, now empty of clients and staff. Patrice left in February. You're not managing anyone's money. You're not allowed to. You spend 6 weeks studying for the Series 65. This time, you take the exam. You pass on the first attempt. Score in the 89th percentile. The certificate arrives in the mail. You put it on the desk and look at it for a while. 11 years too late is still a passing score. 2 of your former clients call in the fall, not to complain. They want to know if you'll be advising again once the bar lifts. You tell them 5 years. They say they'll check back. Dale calls in October. His new advisor put him back into tech-heavy growth funds. He's down 14% since March. He asks a question you can't answer and can't act on. You tell him to stay the course. You tell him his time horizon is still long. Then you tell him you have to go. You hang up and look at the passing score on the certificate and the Christmas cards still in the desk drawer and the number $47 million written on a legal pad in your own handwriting. From the night Richard told you what you were facing. The number doesn't feel like a crime when you write it. It just feels like the work.